Yeah, you being on vacation, I know the time that takes up your days when not doing that is a lot of your business stuff. I know a little bit about your history, but I would love for you to give a runabout of your history for those who will be tuning in, and we'll be learning a lot from you about business related stuff that we dive into after this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got into this industry, fire protection, back in 1988. My father and two partners had a company at Reaction Supply. I started January of 88. Soon after, one of the partners bought one of the partners out, and we just had one office up in the Bay Area, up in Fremont, California. And then soon after I went to work there, we opened up another branch in downtown San Francisco, probably summer of 88. And I took over that facility, and then we quickly started expanding. A couple years later, I think it was either summer of 89 or 90, opened up in Sacramento, California, and at the same time opened up another office in Fresno, California. And then just the business fire protection was just taking off back then. There were a lot of residential ordinances and a lot of different ordinances that went into place after a fire in Las Vegas. And Phoenix, Arizona, Scottsdale was the first city to get a residential ordinance mandating residential fire sprinklers in homes. And so soon after that, 1982, we opened up in Phoenix, Arizona, to take advantage of that. And then in 1993, opened up in Las Vegas. Yeah.
I've grown a business before, and I've learned a lot in doing that. What would you advise someone who's looking to grow their business or even just get new locations? Like, how did you guys go about doing that so that it was done in a proper manner and it wasn't rushed, or, you didn't set traps for yourself by going too fast?
Well, it's just a silly little golden rule. Once the newest location was up and paying for itself, then it was time to open up another one. So, but until the last branch we opened could pay for itself, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't open up anything else till then.
Got it. Yeah.
And when you go into a market, you go, you can pull the C16. That's the sprinkler license they need, a C16 license. So we would pull that. We knew the bigger players in every market, so we would go call on them, find out the best central location to set up our warehouse, and and then you just start looking for a facility. And people, it wasn't as hard back then to find people as it is today. So I moved to quite a few of them myself. I moved to San Francisco, did that one. I moved to Sacramento, moved to Phoenix, and we were able to move people. One of our guys from the Bay Area moved to Vegas and opened up that facility. Soon after, we opened up one in Southern California, and hired somebody to run that one. Just fire protection was just taking off back then in the end of the 80s and throughout the 90s. It still is today, but it saw tremendous growth, and new ordinances were approved and passed and legislated that mandated fire protection sprinklers. There used to be ordinances that any building under 5,000 square feet didn't need them. So people would build buildings just underneath that, and but now it's mandated everywhere. Everything built. There were a lot of retrofit ordinances that went in for tall buildings in San Francisco and LA that they had to go back in and put fire protection in them and such not.
The one thing I found very interesting, I read Benjamin Franklin's biography by Walter Isaacson. I think he originally created the firehouse. Like he started that up, and like what a staple to everything nowadays, but like such a profound innovation back then. I'm sure the same was the case with fire sprinklers. Like, oh wow, let's install these instead of having the fire team come out every time there's a hazard.
Right. And there with other stuff too. If you were a certain amount of miles within a fire station. You didn't have to put them in your house. I mean, they were, people were trying to avoid, builders, of course, didn't want any extra expense. They wanted to put the money in their pocket. And so if you were X amount of miles, and all that went away over time. And, the residential ordinances were huge. I mean, there's so many lives saved every year when a house fire, starts and can be put out. And, there were, back then, everybody, nobody really understood it. And they would think if a fire sprinkler went off in a house, they would all go off. So the whole house would be ruined. And that's not the case. Each fire sprinkler is its own. It at 165 degrees, 175, or whatever the temperature of the head is, 200 degree. Each head has to get to that hot. The link has to be broken, or the bulb has to go off. So your whole house isn't ruined. Just an individual sprinkler head goes off where it senses that heat.
That's one thing I was going to ask on a technical side is, how does it work? Like, for example, a car needs to work so good, or else there's recalls, because you don't want a faulty car being on the road, because it could be a hazard to someone who gets in an accident. They won't be safe when they get in an accident. So for like fire sprinklers, they need to be made perfect every single time, because when they actually need to be used, they need to work.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you guys manufacture them, or you just install?
We don't manufacture. We're just a middleman. The manufacturers sell to a distributor like us, and then we distribute it. Sometimes we fabricate the entire system and deliver it to the job site, and the contractors install it. Yeah, back in the day, more contractors did their own fabrication, but not the case anymore. We suppliers had to get into fabrication. And all the sprinkler heads are ULFM approved. It takes years to get a new sprinkler head approved, a new design or anything. They're tested at length until ULFM approve them.
Got it. And I know at one point you worked with them until 2009, but you had sold the company to HD Supply.
We sold, my father and I sold our company to Hughes Supply out of Florida, which got acquired by HD Supply, a few years after that. So we sold in October of 99. I'd have to look it back up, but I would say by 2002, HD Supply had purchased Hughes.
What was it like being part of a acquisition process? I know it's like from one to the other, but I like M&A is interesting to me. Right. What was it like? Because then you joined their team, you were working underneath their umbrella of their company.
It was a lot more structured than when you have your own company. I mean, there's layers and layers of corporate people and all the accounting and all that kind of stuff. I remember the first time I went back to their headquarters in Hughes right after we were bought. The gentleman who was taking us on the tour and everything, we were in their corporate building, and there was one floor, and he's all that, the seventh floor right there, that's the first building that goes when the economy slows, and, so it just, coming from your own private family company, where you get by with the minimum amount of people you possibly can, and try to remain as profitable as possible so you can grow and open up more facilities and such. And you go back there and there's a floor of 100 accounting people, and it's just a totally different animal when you get acquired by a company that's doing $3, $4, $5 billion a year.
Right. And on that note, I would love to know, you being a veteran in your business journey, what are some important things for younger folks to know, but also could be middle-aged folks just in their initial business journey, or like going through their own thing right now? What are some of the key tenets for you as you look back and think about it?
Everything that went into it, the hours compared to today, what the work ethic of people today, and what you really have to put in doing multiple different jobs, anywhere from, if you're a branch manager, you're out there pulling orders, you're on the forklift, you got to be able to do every single job. And I think, at least the way we train people still today, everybody starts at the bottom. Even our new sales guys all start out in the warehouse. They got to learn the product. They have to know what everybody below them does, and they have to know the job. How can you manage people if you don't know what their job is, if you haven't done that job, so if they're doing it right or wrong, efficient or inefficient?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a different day and age, so the application of work is more like computer based.
Yep.
Depends. It's digital, but there's still physical based businesses. But I hear what you're saying. I think a lot of things have changed, both from work ethic to the way the family looks and a whole slew of things. But I agree with that.
Yeah. And things, as you say, technology has changed a lot of what we do. But there's still businesses like ours that, technology, AI can't install a sprinkler system. They can't go up on a man lift and into a 60-foot building and hang sprinkler pipe.
Right.
So it's one of the old school industries out there that still technology changed it a little bit as far as what we install, the items we install, but as far as people still have to do it, they haven't got around that yet.
Hmm. And then on top of that, so one of the tenets being the work ethic or wearing many hats as an owner. What are some other things you would say to younger folk getting into business?
Well, I think, whatever job you do take, if you're willing to put in the time and effort, you need to like and love what you do, or it's going to be hard for you to put in the time and effort. You got to pick an industry that you're interested in, and I think that's the only way you're going to put in the time and effort and energy, besides just clocking in for your 8 hours or whatever many hours and leaving. I think you need to enjoy what you do, enjoy the people around you. I know there's a lot of this work at home now and stuff, so luckily it's coming back from that. But you're not really working with anybody or anything except the phone call,
Right.
being on Teams calls and such not. But
Yeah, and on the note of working with people, since you are in a family business, I have a family business as well. I'm sure many people do who will listen to this, or just out in the world. It's just how it goes. Working with family, you can hear many different stories. How
yeah,
did you make it work with your dad?
it was when I first went to work there, we were only at the same office for 6 months, and then I moved on to opening up all the branches. I didn't move back to our corporate office till my first daughter was born. She was born in March of '93, so we moved home in June back to the corporate office. So it was a lot different working at a corporate office compared to being at an actual selling office, where you're, loading forklifts, your pipe, the 5 delivery trucks are going out a day, to being in a corporate office where it's accounting, HR, you're doing all that type of work beyond, it wasn't a physical branch there. It was just a corporate office that paid all the bills, received all the bills, ran HR, insurance, banking, all that type stuff.
Hmm.
So it was a lot different.
Yeah. Well, I'm in business myself, so hearing a lot of these things is helpful. And going through the tenants, hearing different intricacies to the fire supply system and the industry you're in. But is there anything else at large you would want to mention? Because there won't be another one of these recordings again, in particular with me. I'm sure you'll do many others with other
Right.
people. But is there any straggling thoughts you want to let loose? Would love to do that before we wrap this conversation up.
Right. I think the main thing is, in today's world, the way it is, I think the younger generation has an opportunity to absolutely kill it if they want to, because there's so many people that don't want to work, don't want to put in the time, don't want to put in the effort, aren't willing to give up, this person's birthday party they got to go to, this dinner, and stay at work. I think it would be so easy to, whatever industry you're in, to be a top performer if you're willing to put in the time and the effort and the energy. I've never seen it easier for people to succeed than I see it today.
Completely agree. Yeah. Right for opportunity. A lot
Yes,
of
exactly. Yep. If you're just willing to put in the time, the effort, and that's what you're supposed to be doing in your 20s when you get out of college, or if you go to a trade school. That's another big thing. Trade schools are finally starting to come back. It was hard having a company in the Bay Area in the 90s hiring people, because nobody, they all wanted to be in tech. Tech was just becoming what it is today. And all around us, was all the big tech companies. And yeah, you want to come sell fire sprinklers, or you want to go get stock options and become a millionaire working for Facebook, Google, Apple. It was hard. We couldn't go to the colleges. We tried the junior colleges. That was even hard. And trade schools, have gone away. Especially that's what, as we 2010, 2015, as it got later on, and then COVID hit. It's incredible. Like, to be a sprinkler fitter, union sprinkler fitter in the Bay Area, you can make well into the six figures. With the union benefits, this and that, they're $180,000 a year, which is good money. And people it's not a sexy industry though. Same thing even on our side, the sales side. It's a great industry, and you can make a lot of money, and all you have to do is put the effort in. It's so easy to succeed today because our competitors are large, big companies, and they're so structured. You can only do this, you can only do that. Where we're nimble, we can get something back to the customer within half an hour. There's not 5 approvals that are needed. I think a small company, a small family company, be it whatever kind of small company, it's so ripe to be successful today if you're willing to put in the work, the time, and the effort.
Yeah, well said. I listen to one video almost every day by Earl Nightingale. He apprenticed under Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote amazing books, one of them being Think and Grow Rich, top seller through many decades. And Earl Nightingale in this video talks about how the country nowadays it's a video from the 90s, but it's still true to this day. And what you said, how the country has slowed down to protect its weakest vessel. If you see like all the citizens, all the people as vessels, it has slowed down the convoy to protect the weakest vessel. Whereas in the past, it was going full steam ahead, and the strongest had to, win out.
Exactly.
Now, the bar is very low. So
yeah, that's why I think, we've got a couple young sales guys now who, one of them, for instance, graduated college, started in commercial real estate in January of 2020 in downtown San Francisco. So you can imagine COVID hits. I mean, there's no deals being done, especially in San Francisco. And, he's on with us now, and I'm all, you really want to sell fire sprinklers? You really? And it's so much different being able to talk to different customers every day, 5, 6, 7 customers a day, than, doing what I was doing in the commercial real estate. It's just putting in the time and the effort and finding an industry you like. That's the only way you're going to put in the time and the, to be successful. But the bar's very low, very low.
Yeah. Wise words. Appreciate it all, and appreciate the whole conversation. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.